You may begin. Good morning, everyone, and want to welcome you this December 22nd, 9 a.m. To our special meeting. We are actually holding this one at the Convention Center, and we have some new equipment here that we're going to be trying out today, so we ask for you to bear with us, but hopefully it's a lot better. If you'll join me in a moment of silence, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call after that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico. This is a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Mrs. Devine, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
Councilor Salas.
Here.
Councilor Letterman.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
All right. Thank you. I'll go ahead and cover a few, as they call them, house cleaning items. Joining me here in what we're calling room 1 is Councilor Jackson. Councilor Cornelius is right to my left. We have Village Manager Tim Dodge, Village Clerk Armand Devine, and we of course have to have our IT tech support Jeffrey Ferguson. And then in here we have Daniel Alsop with the Module Sperling firm. In room 2, we have Councilor Coughlin, Mayor Pro Tem Councilor Rafael Salas, Councilor Letterman, Councilor Eby is via Zoom, and then we have our attorney Zach Cook, and then also via Zoom we have our Deputy Clerk Bertha De Los Santos, and then other various department heads. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve our agenda items, and if you would, just give me the ability to move a few of these things around.
Mr. Mayor, move that the agenda be approved and you be given the ability to move the agenda items as needs most.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda with giving you liberty to move items as needed.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Could y'all hear Councilor Jackson?
We did it.
What's that? Oh, you have to toggle your mic.
No.
Okay, we're figuring it out, still technical difficulties, so we'll have to give that one to Rafael Salas.
And take Cornelius a second.
And then, did we have a second, or did you, and John Cornelius had a second? Just reminding all the counselors, you'll have to push the little, should be red button, it'll turn to green, and then when you're through, you turn it back to red. Okay, are we good? And before we get started, I would just like to point out we lost a very dear friend of Ruidoso yesterday, a great man. One of the owners of the Ruidoso racetrack passed away very unexpectedly at his home in Hondo, Texas. Stan Sigmund was a big friend, a big portion of what was going on out at the track. He was the managing partner. He loved the racetrack. He also loved Ruidoso and Lincoln County with all of its history. He and his family, we'd like for you to remember them in your prayers today, but it's going to be a tragic loss. It's been a very rough year, 2020, as we all know, and this didn't make it any easier. So remember the Sigmund family in your prayers. First agenda item is that we are going to do the ratification of change order number 1 with Highway Supply in the amount of $6,423.10, including gross receipts tax and acceptance of airport striping project.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mayor, Councilors, Manager Dodge. This change order comes from Armstrong on the markings project at SBRA. Armstrong has been aggressive in making sure that our airport meets the requirements of the FAA and their standards. And we had a couple of markings that we had found during the project that needed to be, they were faded and needed to be cleaned up and remarked. And so this change order comes from Tim Archibek with Armstrong to make sure that that happened. And it is completed. And so that's what this change order is from Highway Supply on the striping project from airport. I'll take any questions at this time.
Cody, this is Tim. So there's a change order. It has to do with the stripings were faded. My question is, why wasn't that noted originally when we looked at the project?
So there were some crossbars and some things that changed on the spec, and they just weren't recognized whenever they made the changes to the markings previously on the project. And when those markings were changed, they noticed that these were faded and had to have a direction change. And so they were, it was just one of those things that was overlooked on 2 of them. I can't remember the exact linear feet, but there was only 2 that were missed. They just, there were pretty long markings on that taxiway. And we have a letter and the work done that should have been attached to the agenda memo that can explain exactly where and how long those were.
Okay, it just seems like there's been other projects that have come forward that are bid out. Then during the middle of the project, then all of a sudden, oh, well, we forgot something. And when we're hiring these consultants, it seems like they're the experts, and it's kind of frustrating when they're missing simple things such as this.
Well, yes, sir, Councilor Coughlin. Highway Supply did the original quote and bid, and I think they were just trying to save money and go with what they seen as a minimum. And then when Tim and Armstrong were out there and Jackie, they seen and talked with a couple of the state aviation reps and recognized those markings to be faded and just wanted to make sure that we had a complete project and we weren't having to go back. And so that's why that decision was made.
So was Highway Supply the one that did the work?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. That explains things.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir, go ahead, man.
Cody, also go into, that this is covered by grant funds and then the additional opportunities that there are with the grant funds as well. So.
Yes, sir, Manager Dodge. This grant originally was for $170,000, and with the Armstrong and then the markings project being completed, we came under on that grant about $56,000. And so working with Tim and Manager Dodge on this grant to utilize those funds on an additional project for crack filling at SBRA, that's also going to be out of the original grant of the 170. So we're hoping to get an additional project for SBRA out of the same grant for roughly $56,000.
Mayor, and I just want to, state that I haven't really been involved with this, but, Ron and I are really trying to work with Cody to make sure that we start building capacity and that other staff start to know the people at the state and federal level to work with so that we continue to build that capacity within the departments. So, I think, Cody is the one that's really been working on this. I've been taken back and just letting him move forward, but there are several different grant opportunities that are coming up and Cody's on top of it. So I just wanted to make sure that you all are aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Manager Dodge. Did anyone else have anything? Okay, need a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, move to ratify change order number 1 with Highway Supply in the amount of $6,423.10, including gross receipts tax and acceptance of airport striping project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please, Mrs. Devine.
Yes, sir. Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman. Aye. Counselor Eby.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now then, I'll go ahead and move the agenda around a little bit. I've noticed that we have some special people here, and by special, I mean one in particular is very awesome. Chief, would you come on in and bring Nancy Smith? And if you want to come over here in the center, and I'll let you use my microphone. I want you to read this, but Nancy has been with the village 25 years in the police department and has done a wonderful job. I know she's fingerprinted everybody in this room more than once, and probably most of the town and whatever, but she's had 25 wonderful years, at least from what I've heard in the time that I've been here. And we appreciate everything that Nancy has done, and we're certainly going to miss her. So, Chief, you want to come over here and read your...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's 21 and a half.
21 and a half.
But we do remember the half as we're saying that. Yes, sir. So, Nancy, this is presented to you in appreciation for your years of hard work and dedicated service to the community and the village of Rito. So enjoy your retirement, May 3rd, 1999, December 31st, 2020. Again, Nancy, there's no replacing you. Congratulations, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you, sir.
For sure.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you'd like to say? This is your good one. You can have a parting shot, or you can put a crown on top.
Oh, my goodness. I just want to say I thank the village. I thank the chief. He's number 5 for me.
Oh, wow.
And so I've enjoyed my employment here. Thank you all so very much.
Who was your first chief?
Lanny Maddox.
Lanny Maddox, okay. All right, well, thank you so much, and
You're welcome.
we are going to miss you, and enjoy your retirement. We
Thank
seem
you.
to have a lot of that going around this
Yes.
month, and so I guess that's one of the positives for a few in 2020, so thank you again, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right, Chief, you hang out.
Okay, yeah, I was
And,
going to escort her.
Yep.
I'll get ready in. Congratulations.
Next, we're going to be introducing a new addition to the Village of Ruidoso team, in particular the police department. We did a very wide, man, this guy's decorated. Are y'all getting to see all this jewelry that he's got here?
That's because I've been around.
He's been around a while. So we had put out a search for a deputy chief here at the village, and we had a lot of very qualified, spectacular, I might say, applicants. And we feel like out of this that we picked the very best one. It's going to be a great fit, I think. We're excited to have Deputy Chief Ray Lacey here with us, and soon I hope to see his wife. She'll be in addition to the community. So we've started something new today. We want to, in some areas and in some communities, the mayor actually gets to give the oath of office, so I count it as a real privilege. And so, Ray, if you just step forward to the microphone, I'm going to read this off, and I want you to repeat after me. I, William Ray Lacey,
I, William Ray Lacey,
having been hired for the position of Deputy Chief of Police
having been hired for the position of Deputy Chief of Police
for the Village of Ruidoso in the County of Lincoln, State of New Mexico,
for the Village of Ruidoso, County of Lincoln, and State of New Mexico,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico,
the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico,
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said position to the best of my ability.
and faithfully and impartially
Discharge the duties of said position to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right. Thank you very much, and awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome, and I need to learn my part of this a little bit better. It's obvious, but this is Ray. Could you just take your mask off so everybody could see you just a little bit? And he's got that thing put on.
I got it way up there to keep in place.
Okay, this is your new deputy chief. Would you like to say something?
That's okay. It's a privilege to be here working for the village and working with all of y'all and with a great team that Chief Hooker has, and I'm looking very forward to it.
All right. Thank you, DC. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. All right, thank you, Chief.
Appreciate y'all. We'll see you.
Mayor, may I state something?
Yes, go right ahead.
And that's one of the things that the administration has been talking about is making sure that the officers do come for the commission in front of the mayor. And you'll see in our strategic planning that we're proposing for January that each one of the departments has improvement plans that we're going to be working on. That's one of the aspects that we're doing is making sure that employees and officers know that they're a part of the bigger organization. So I appreciate you all doing that, Mayor.
I think that's real important. We just want to make all the different departments included and it be an inclusive group. And then we want to make sure that our counselors and people know our police officers. So we're really starting a new program that we're working into it. And so I think that Chief Hooker and now then our deputy chief it's going to be a big asset to our community. Okay, moving forward. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action on change order number 1, IFB number 2020-008 with Smithco for Alto Crest Water Treatment Plant, Plant 3 improvements, requesting a time extension of 42 days to February the 15th, 2022, and an increased contract amount of $7,179.62, excluding gross receipts tax. Is that date correct? 2022?
Correct.
Okay, that is correct. Okay. All right. And I believe the one that's going to be presenting this is Randy Kane. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. My name is Randy Kane, Water Production Manager. I'm here to discuss and possible change order number 1 with Smithco for the Alto Water Treatment Plant Improvement Project. Like Mayor said, we are seeking a time extension of 42 days, which 28 days is for the items 1 through 6 on the change orders, and 14 days for the COVID-19 test results. And it's task order number 1, but it consists of 6 different change orders. And I'll stand for any questions or comments.
Okay, to any of the counselors, I can see Counselor Coughlin's got his finger on the button, so go ahead, sir.
You can see that well. Wow.
Well, yeah, I had to take my glasses off because I keep fogging up my glasses with this mask on, so I can see much better now. Go ahead.
So I just want to say, there's been 2 agenda items so far today that have change orders. And looking at these change orders, and we've had several of these, like I said before, that have come to us in the past for projects. When I'm looking at this, and some of this seems to me, as an outsider, that this should have been discovered earlier in the process, should have been part of the original bid. And it's just one thing after another with all these change orders that take place afterwards. So it makes me wonder whether we're just changing our mind or whether somebody's fallen down and not getting the specs right when we go to bid out this stuff. It's frustrating.
Well, there are certain things that they find out in the field that are unexpected that, we don't see in the beginning. And, when you get into the project, sometimes things come up and, sometimes it's tough.
Well, I understand that, like the one, number 1, where they wanted to keep the garage from being flooded during the construction. But adding additional rebar, putting in a diamond plate pump floor, those don't seem like they're things that come up during construction. Those are more like, oh, what would be really nice? Unexpected rock. Yeah, we get that all the time. You never know until you dig down into the soil, although we know that we're in a very rocky area, but you can never project that. So some of this stuff just seems like it was stuff that should have been planned for initially.
Randy, do we not have Katie Ellison with Moles and Corbin available, that maybe she could answer something, or
Mayor, I believe Jerry
is
also.
Jerry here?
I'm available and Jerry is as well, if there's
Okay.
some specific questions. Just one thing I would like to mention, as Randy said, there's a lot of stuff, especially when we go into a rehabilitation or a retrofit project, there's a lot of unforeseen things that we try to plan for, but we're not always able to see, such as the additional rebar for the Docklift Foundation. That had to do because there was an electrical duct bank that was discovered in that area. And so we had to redo the footing for that in order to accommodate for that. And so we had to add extra rebar over that to protect it. And so that way it wasn't a bigger modification to the project. And then I believe the other one was the diamond floor plate that you mentioned. And my note for that was that we had to, in order to decrease the ramp's length and slope for part of the project, we had to decrease, we had to lower the floor. And in order to do that, it had to, it had to be replaced with this other kind of flooring. That isn't in my wheelhouse exactly, but that is my understanding of what happened. So it was kind of a trade for the ramp, which I think would have been a more costly item to this one. And so there's just a few things that happened during the process, like Randy said, that are just a little bit out of our, we're not able to know them up front. And it would be nice if we did, but as they are retrofit and it's not a brand new project, sometimes there's just little surprises that pop up, and we try to keep them as minimal as possible and ensure that you guys have the best product.
I would suggest possibly in the future then, I appreciate your explanation of those, but maybe in the future, the wording regarding the change orders be a little bit more descriptive. Because for instance, the diamond plate, it just says, changes include deletion of the original sump in the floor and adding a diamond pump plate floor and changing the electrical load center. Doesn't say why. So then it, to me, at least, it appears that it's just something that's on a wish list that's taking place.
Okay.
So maybe better explanation, and then we don't have these types of things. Providing the additional rebar, all it says is additional rebar around the existing electrical duct bank running through the existing foundation. It doesn't say why. It's like somebody goofed up and, we needed more rebar and we forgot.
Okay, and that is my mistake. I will definitely make sure and portray that a little more clearly of what exactly happened and why we're doing that. And I try to keep my letters shorter, but I will, you're right, that's better just to include everything that you guys have so you get the full picture. Since you are, like you said, part of the outside looking in, you need the full story.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Anything else from any of the other counselors? Any questions, comments? Okay, me none. How about a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve change order number 1, FB number 2020-008, with Smithco for Alto Crest Water Treatment Plant, Plant 3, improvements, requesting a time extension of 42 days to February 15th, 2022, and an increased contract amount of $7,179.62, excluding gross receipts tax.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and a second by Councilor Cornelius. Is there any other further discussion? I figured Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Salas would still be jumping up and down because this is one of his babies he's been talking about since I've known him, which is a long time.
You're absolutely right, Mayor, and I was concerned on the 2022 date, but I understand the complications of that area.
Okay. All right. Roll call, please, Mrs. Devine.
Yes, sir. Counselor Jackson? Aye. Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman? Aye. Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Okay, item number 3 is discussion and possible action on real property lease agreement with the State of New Mexico's Administrative Office of the Courts, AOC, to build a magistrate court in Ruidoso. And I know we've had some discussions on that. This is item number 3, and I believe we have, is it going to be you, Tim, Judy? Who's going to be?
Daniel's going to be here. He's helped us work on this lease agreement. And then
I can take it. I can start it.
we also have members of the,
I don't know if they can hear you, Tim.
We can't hear Tim.
I can.
Daniel's here to present with Judy, and then we also have members of AOC online as well.
Okay, Judy, if you would start us off and if you would introduce whoever's coming up to speak, I'd appreciate it. And if you don't know, please just introduce yourself when it's your turn to talk. Thanks, Judy. Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor. Good morning, councilors. In front of you is the agreement. As you are aware, we signed a JPA with the AOC to build a magistrate court in Ruidoso. And this is the culmination of a lot of months of work. This is the actual debt instrument that will allow us to build the court in our municipality. This is the breakdown of what it is. And the lease agreement is what will pay back our debt for the construction of the building. Today, Daniel Alsop with Modral is there to explain and take any questions that you might have. But right now, the only revenues pledged for this debt are the revenues coming in from the rental of the building back to AOC. So if you would like to, I know Daniel would like to say a few words and he can take it away.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and thank you, Judy. As I think the council will recall, the council was presented with a form of lease agreement at the November 9th meeting that had a few blank spots in it. And we were waiting to finalize pricing of the loan agreement and the loan terms with the finance authority. And that we'll address that in the next item, but I'll partially touch on it here. Those blank spots in that lease agreement at the November 9th meeting, at which a form of the lease agreement was approved, we're in section 1.4A and 1.4B and in the exhibits. 1.4A is the renewal and replacement account, and the amount of $10,000 per year was inserted there, and that is a fund that AOC will fund annually until that amount reaches $100,000, and that money will be used to provide ongoing renewal and replacement of capital type items at the facility. The $10,000 per year is based on the City of Berlin lease agreement, and that transaction is one that closed earlier this year in about June. In section 1.4B, the janitorial and utility account, the amount used there also was pulled from the City of Berlin lease agreement. And there's a provision, it's section 4.6, which provides that janitorial and utility account amount is an estimate at this point because it's unknown, of course, without the facility being constructed, how much the actual janitorial and utilities will be. And so at the end of that first year, there will be a true up, and if it was more expensive, then AOC will make up that difference. And if it was less expensive, then AOC will get an offset on the rent they pay, and those extra funds will just be used to pay debt service on the loan. And that takes us to the primary exhibit that was updated, which is Exhibit C, and that's a schedule of rent payments. These payments tie directly to the debt service payments that are due on the loan agreement between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the village. And those were finalized earlier this month. And I can cover those terms now, or I can cover them on the next item. But the amounts you see under base rent are tied directly to the debt service due on the loan. And so from the village's perspective, the village is a pass-through. None of the village's actual funds will pay for debt service. They will all be, the only funds pledged here from the village's perspective are lease payments that the village actually receives from AOC. And then some of the other exhibits, like the record drawings and some things like that, were also inserted.
yeah, if you want to cover the items you mentioned on the next item, that'd be good. Does anybody have any,
We can't hear whoever's talking.
Sorry, that's the first, I know, for me, but he'll cover, on the next item, number 4, he'll cover more of the payments. Does anyone have any questions of Judy or of Daniel? We've worked this pretty hard for quite a while.
So Mayor, one of the things that I brought up before, and I'm going to bring it up again, is initially in the design of the project, I believe there was somewhere between 35 and 40 public parking spaces. This has been reduced down to 25 public parking spaces and 22 secured. Considering the, when we have a jury pool, you've got attorneys, you've got defendants, you've got the jury pool itself, 25 public parking spaces is not enough. My concern is with the layout there and knowing that property very, very well, the only additional parking, it would be, so if we have to use overflow parking in another area, that means to get to the court building, people are going to have to walk in the road there because there's no sidewalks there. I've made that mention over and over again, and the design has actually shrunk from the original as far as parking, and that's a major concern and a safety issue as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, duly noted. Do we have anything to address that?
Mr. Mayor and Counselor, I think I heard that there was an AOC representative on the phone. I don't know if that person is able to speak to the parking space issue.
Judy, is that correct?
Yes, I believe there's somebody on, but it looks like they're having a hard time connecting to the audio.
Daniel, if I can cover that.
Sure.
Mayor, I'll address that.
Okay, go ahead, Manager Dodge.
Counselor Coughlin, I know that we're on the lease agreement. On the design part, we will address that. The difficulty that we've had on that issue is the AOC, Mr. Scott actually had terminated the design agreement, and they're going through an RFP process. So we haven't been able to sit down and, work with them on that, but we will address that parking issue when we get into design.
But Tim, the reason I'm addressing it now is because it's 1.2C, which specifically talks about parking, and that is in part of the lease agreement.
Okay. So if you'd like, we can make a friendly amendment to this and kick it back to them, increasing it to 35 or 40, whatever you're comfortable with, Mayor.
Is it possible to do that?
I think this is if you want to do that, I guess that's the direction we'll take, and we'll work with them on it. I don't think it's going to increase the value of this agreement. It's just going to make sure that we incorporate that many parking spaces into the project.
Okay, because it's something that I brought up the last time, and I believe somebody from the AOC said it would be addressed, and I'm not seeing that there's been any change as far as that goes.
Yes, and Councilor, as I explained, we haven't got back into design, so we haven't been able to change that.
Okay, does that make sense? I'd like to ask all things builders, Councilor Cornelius, because he's looked at that project. Off the top of your head, do you see where there's the ability to add any more parking over there?
Well, it'll be getting into behind the old shop building if we do.
Okay.
I think they can get a few without, and like Tim said, if they're going to have to use any of the parking for the rest of the Horton complex, they should have a way to get there without walking in the street. So a sidewalk shouldn't be that expensive.
Okay. Well, I think we need to make just a notation on 1.2C. We need some language to address that we want that we don't think the 25 shared parking and 22 secured is adequate. So, Councilor Coughlin, since you're more familiar with it than most of us with the parking over there, what would be your suggestion on this?
I think we need somewhere between 35 and 40 parking spots for the public, based on my experience at district court during jury pools.
Okay, so if we could maybe strike 25 shared and put 35, would that work?
That would work, and then as we do the design, make sure that there's some form and fashion that, should they require access to other parking areas, that there is a safe method for the people to get there without having to walk in the street. I would hate for somebody to have an accident and then it comes down on us and the AOC.
Okay, we need to figure out how to word that. So if we have 35 shared parking spaces and 22 secured fence parking, and then if we need some language that would say, if they're unable to get it right there and it has to be part of the other parking lot, that there's a secure sidewalk or access to the premises, correct?
Yeah, it looks like at the north end of the building possibly. I mean, it's hard to really see in that drawing. But there's, from the corner of the building to the street, there's a gap there is what it appears to be. So it's possible that there could be a path put along there to get that parking from the existing shop building, have a path for them to get over to the magistrate building.
Okay. Do you want to fashion that motion, or do you want us to work on it for a brief moment and come up with something we can read off? Councilor Jackson, do you have any input?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would Councilor Coughlin be agreeable to it being read as 35 shared parking spaces, as particularly indicated on Exhibit B, with safe passage to and from the courthouse, with 22 secured fenced parking spaces to the south side of the lot for judiciary staff and judges?
Give me just 1 second, because I mean, that sounds good, but I would just want to check. I thought there was something else regarding parking in here.
It just refers back to that same area.
I've been told it just refers back to the same area.
Yes, yeah, it does. Okay, yes, I'd be agreeable with that, Councilor Jackson.
Okay. And
Then, Mr. Mayor, I would move that be accepted as an amendment with regard to 1.2C of this contract.
do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this lease agreement? Okay, being none, I'll have a roll call, please, Mrs. Devine.
Yes, sir. Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin,
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius,
Aye.
Councilor Salas,
Aye.
Councilor Letterman. Aye. Councilor Eby.
Aye.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. Item number 4 is discussion on pricing on New Mexico Finance Authority NMFA loan in the amount of $5,310,000 and no cents for the construction of a magistrate court in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Now, I don't know if that includes, because somebody's going to ask or make a comment, I don't know if it includes GRT at this point. And so I believe that this one is also Judy and Miss Judy.
Mayor, councilors, this is the actual interest rate that was set by NMFA for the debt that is going to be issued. It is actually a bond that was sold at a premium, so we will pay back $5 million, but we will be issuing at a premium value of an additional $1 million, which will be together. Those amounts will yield $5.7 million in construction monies. A portion of those will be into other funding deposits for a debt service reserve and a capitalized interest, because when the loan starts, we will owe interest on the loan before, I believe, the AOC will start paying rent. So we will take that into consideration and build it into the loan. Again, the only revenues
You're cutting out there,
to pay
Judy.
back the debt will be Daniel.
You're cutting out a little bit there, Judy. So could you repeat that last couple sentences?
The only amounts that will be used to pay the debt will be the rent coming from the AOC that they'll pay for the use of the building. And since I'm cutting out, I'll go ahead and switch it over to Daniel from Modro.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and thank you, Judy. I think Judy covered the terms of the loan well at the November 9th meeting, in which the council adopted an ordinance approving the loan. It delegated authority to the mayor and manager to approve the final terms of the loan. And those final terms were set, as I mentioned earlier this month. This item is an informational item only, and it's required that when that delegation is made, that the final terms of the loan be presented to the council. And so, as Judy mentioned, this loan was priced with a premium structure. When the finance authority sold their bonds into the public markets, there was premium. As far as the village is concerned, it doesn't make a difference. The total amount borrowed is $6,402,409.15. That will provide $5.7 million for the project fund for the actual construction of the building. There will be a debt service reserve fund of $318,600, which is equal to 1 year's debt service. There's a capitalized interest fund of approximately $281,000, and that amount pays for debt service on the loan until the facility is complete and AOC can move in and begin paying rent, which will then provide funds for the debt service on the loan. And then there's approximately $100,000 for cost of issuance and a small amount, about a little over $3,000 for contingency. The interest rate on the loan is 2.95%. And the loan will be fully repaid in December of 2050. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions in particular? And I'm a little confused because on one piece it says the loan rate is 2.925. In another area on the actual contract, it says 2.9525. So we got a 5 and a 2 flipped, if I saw it right. But this close to Christmas, I do have visions of sugar plums dancing in my head. So I would say on the so it's probably on our agenda where it says item discussion interest rate on the New Mexico Finance Authority NMFA loan is 2.925. So that would be incorrect. Is that right? Because it is 2.9525?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. It's 2.9525.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything?
Judy, if you can hear, so we need to start paying on this loan from the beginning, and the AOC doesn't pay until, I'm assuming, the construction's completed and they take occupancy. How long do we anticipate that to be? And do we have the funds, we've got the funds set aside to do that?
Counselor, my connection kind of dropped, so I didn't hear the full question.
Okay, so basically, the loan payment is due pretty much once we start getting the funding. We have to start paying on the loan payment. But the AOC doesn't start paying the village until the construction's completed and they take occupancy, correct?
Let's let Daniel answer that. I think he did really. Go ahead and restate that again, Daniel,
Sure.
on how that we pay for it before AOC starts paying rent.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilor. It is projected that the facility will be complete in early 2022. And to provide funds, you are correct that debt service is due on the loan beginning immediately. And to provide that debt service, part of the proceeds of the loan in the amount of $281,000 are placed in a capitalized interest fund. And that fund will be used to pay debt service on the loan until AOC moves in and begins paying lease payments.
Okay, yeah, now that you mentioned, I remember something like that. It was kind of a strange concept for me, but yeah, taking part of that, setting aside, and that's the lease payments.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilor Cornelius.
are we going to receive the full amount, or do we draw this down like interim money? We get so much ever when we request it.
Thank you, Councilor. The full amount of the proceeds will be placed in a project fund that are held by the New Mexico Finance Authority's trustee, and that's the case with all loans that are placed with the Finance Authority. They're the village's funds, and they're actually borrowed on the date the loan closes. So it's not a drawdown loan in that sense, but to access the funds, and I'll make sure and talk with Judy and Tim and whoever needs to be in the loop on the mechanics of it, but to access the funds, a one-page document called a requisition will be submitted to the New Mexico Finance Authority saying, here's an invoice we want paid from this project fund, and then the Finance Authority's trustee, which is Bank of Albuquerque, will send the money directly to the vendor.
But we'll pay interest on the full amount from day one.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
But we don't gain interest on the money that's being held by NMFA?
Yes, this is Judy. We will be earning interest on the monies that are placed with the trustee.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, was there any other questions, comments? Okay, can we get a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, move to discuss pricing on New Mexico Finance Authority NMFA loan in the amount of $5,310,000 for the construction of a magistrate court in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and allow the mayor to sign the pricing certificate acknowledging terms of loan with NMFA.
Mayor, I believe this was just a discussion.
Oh, discussion, it sure is.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, well, just a point of clarification, then as I read this, and maybe council can help us, so you don't really need authorization to sign the certificate acknowledging the terms of the loan or not?
Mayor and Councilor Jackson, there's no need for additional council action today.
Then I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Sorry I put that out there. All right, well, I guess, is there any other comments, questions from anyone? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you very much, Daniel. We appreciate it, Judy. The next item up is a closed session. So we'll need a motion to move into closed session, please. Item number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we moved into closed session for discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 10-15-1H7, New Mexico Statutory Authority, 1978, case number D as in David 1226, C, V as in Victor 2020-00105, Division 5, Jim Embry, appellate versus Village of Ruidoso appellee. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Cornelius seconded. So roll call, please, Mrs. Devine.
Yes, sir. Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Letterman. Aye. Councilor Eby.
Aye. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we
Manager.
move into executive session, can I just make a statement real quick? That
Absolutely.
I just want to let you know, Mayor, that Daniel has worked extremely hard to get this lease agreement in place, and I think he's gone over and above on this process, so I just want to personally thank him.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much. All
May I
right.
ask- This is Judy.
Yes, Judy.
Daniel, are you going to come to Village Hall for signatures?
Yes, I can hang around here and get everyone's signature here.
Judy, he's gonna hang around, get our signatures, and he'll go after he gets that done.
Okay.
Okay. Now then, we'll go into it, and for those of us that are watching that may not catch the closing of the council meeting, we wish you a Merry Christmas. We're looking forward to 2021, so be safe. Remember your social distancing is all we ask. So God bless you, and we'll move into closed session.